Okay. This time, Julien, I've shortened my presentation because last time there was no time for questions. And we have so many projects that I decided that I was going to make this thing a lot shorter so that you can, anybody who's listening who has any questions that I can respond to them. So let's get on with it. So Globex is a bit of a different company. It's a property bank. And just get to what I would like from people who are listening to this presentation and watching it is that they look at it as a property bank, not as a single project company, and that they focus on the value, because the value in this particular company is basically hidden. So what are we? We're a diversified company. We'd have precious metals, base metals, specialty metals and minerals, industrial minerals, and we also have a bunch of royalties. So we're diversified. We only work in areas of low political risk, focused on Eastern Canada particularly, but recently we picked up some ground in Saskatchewan. Plus, we're expanding in the US, Nevada, Arizona, excuse me, and Washington State. We have revenue, which makes us a bit different from the revenues from options and from sales. We have one joint venture, which generates a bit of revenue, and we also have royalties. Currently, we have over $25 million in cash and shares, marketable securities, and no debt. So our business model, as I say, is a property bank or incubator. We specialize in acquisitions. We have assets which we've acquired cheaply, then we upgrade them through exploration and intellectual input. Then we generate revenue through options particularly, but also sales and royalties. And this income means that we have less shareholder dilution, increased exploration expenditure, and less risk for our shareholders, and we avoid debt, while all at the same time increasing the portfolio value. This bar chart shows you how over time we've been building up the asset base of the company. Currently, we have 254 assets, of which 106 are royalties. Now, if you look at the basic information about the company, 56 million shares out. The company listed in 1987. These 56 million shares, fully diluted 57.7, is the number of shares, but we've never done a rollback. If you companies, they raise money, they do exploration, they issue shares, they find something, they raise more money, they don't find something, they raise more money, and they keep diluting the shareholders. We don't do that. This 56 million shares out is the total since 1987 with no rollbacks. Management, principally myself and my wife, we own 12.8% of the company. Also, something different about the board is professional board. 3 senior geologists, 1 mining accountant, 1 senior finance professional, all people involved in the mining or processing industry. Another thing different about the company was we're on the senior Toronto Stock Exchange. We're also on a number of exchanges in Germany, including Frankfurt, and the OTCQX International in the US by invitation. Quickly, the board of directors. I'm a geologist with over 40 years experience. Ian Atkinson, same thing, over 40 years experience. Hans van Hoof, a finance professional who was chairman and senior executive officer for the Soros funds. Diane, my wife, who is retired at the moment. She served for over 30 years as CFO and corporate secretary for Globex. Prior to that, for 18 years, she was a senior revenue planner and analyst for Noranda Mines. And Chris Bryan, who is a retired geologist and mining analyst. He was a mining analyst and portfolio manager for Caisse de dépôt et placement. So let's look at the breakdown of our assets. Of the 254 projects, 128 are precious metals, principally gold and silver, but also platinum, palladium. 69 are base metals or polymetallic. That's to say copper, zinc generally, but also lead and nickel, often with gold and silver credits. Then 57 are specialty metals and minerals. And industrial minerals, talc, iron, lithium, antimony, feldspar, scandium, and so on. We also have 106, included in that, 106 royalties. We have 9 active options. These active options are generating cash and share payments, exploration expenditures by other parties, and a gross metal royalty for Globex. Now, we don't do grassroots projects. Our projects are advanced projects. So 58 of them have historical or NI 43-101 resources. 40 of them have former mines on the properties. If you look at the property holdings by type, precious metals, 128, base metals, 60, specialty metals, 43, industrial minerals, 16. And you can see there the portions that are exploration projects, the portions which are royalties. Distribution of our assets. Most of our assets are in the Abitibi of Quebec and Ontario. This map, you see the boundary between Quebec and Ontario, and the map is of the Abitibi. The gold-colored stars are precious metal properties. The blue squares are base metals. The red stars are critical metals and minerals, and the green triangles, sorry, not triangles, diamonds are industrial minerals. And we're on a lot of the main structures. If you see here, if you follow the arrow, that is the world famous Cadillac Break, which is a focal point for gold deposits. This is the Porcupine Destor Break, again, a focus for gold deposits. We're all in the major camps, Rouyn-Noranda, Malartic, Val-d'Or over here, Matagami, up in this area here, Joutel over here. And if you look at the map up in the northwest corner, you can see the white area here is this large map. And you can see have properties spread all over the rest of Quebec, also in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. Lately, we picked up projects in Saskatchewan, and we have now projects, we've been acquiring projects in Nevada and Arizona, and we have one in Washington, and we're looking at acquiring another one. Lastly, we have a project which is now a royalty in Germany, and I'll mention that a little bit later. So I'm just going to give you a couple examples of some of the projects. I've cut down on this a lot, so we have time for questions. This is the Francoeur-Arnfield-Lac Fortune property west of Rouyn-Noranda. We acquired this property over a number of years. We built it up. And it includes this horizon, which is the Francoeur-Wasamac horizon. And you can see these are all former mining areas. Cost us over $2 million to advance this project with drilling, prospecting, mapping, stripping, and a bit of focused drilling. This project horizon is on strike with the Wasamac project, which Agnico Eagle is in the process of advancing towards production. So we did a deal with Yamana, which eventually became Agnico Eagle. The deal is for $15 million in cash. Remember, we spent $2 million, so $13 million of profit, and we maintain a 2% gross metal royalty on this project. So an example of how we carry forward projects, we make investments and advance them and then generate revenue from those deals. This is another area. This is a Joutel mining camp over a large number of years. We succeeded in picking up most of the camp, including the Eagle mine, the Poirier mine, which is a polymetallic deposit, and the Joutel mine, which is also a polymetallic deposit. We did a deal with Maple on the Eagle mine. They are in partnership with Agnico Eagle. They're carrying that forward. They've done 2 drill programs with good results. We had initially optioned this area here to a company called Orford. They got taken over by Alamos. Last week, we received back the project, but with a whole bunch of data. And I've been looking and going over the data, and they discovered a new zone here called the South Zone. We've done 2 drill programs, intersected in both programs, and now we're looking at it. We're going to do a bit more work on it ourselves and see if we can do a deal on all of these 3 assets, which is basically the majority of the Joutel mining camp. Okay. For some reason, it popped over one of the maps. Okay, we picked up the Chibougamau mining camp. And we have half of the Chibougamau mining camp and also the west half of the camp. We've done a deal on the west half of the camp with a company called Tama Gold, and they're going to be doing a drill program, what's called the Berrigan Zone. This, you can see here some of the results of the historical drilling on the Berrigan Zone. The Berrigan Zone was looked at for zinc. At the time, the price of gold and the price of silver were not particularly fantastic. But if you look at it, fantastic gold results, fantastic silver results. So this is reality now under the new price regime of the price of metals. This is a gold silver project with zinc. In the Chibougamau mining camp, we own half the mining camp, including 7 former producers. We also have the Mont Sorcier iron deposit, which is under the control of a company called Cerrado Gold. They put out a press release today saying that they're going to be going forward with the feasibility study, should be ready in the first quarter of 2025. We have a Chibougamau, which is a spin out from Globex, has a 2% gross royalty on it, and Globex have a 1% gross royalty on it. So, and we also have a discovery on the property called C3, which is a copper gold project. This is a map of the C3. This is a long section. We've drilled it from surface down to 450 meters. You can see good copper gold values, like 9.25 meters of 2.49% copper, 4.24 grams gold. Hole above it, 15.6 meters, 3.06 copper, 2.96 grams gold, and multiple zones. So it's just like lots and lots of good values. This one here, 7.7% copper, 3.58 grams gold. So good project, needs more drilling to expand it out east and west and to depth. And plus there are multiple anomalies, geophysical anomalies on strike that have not been tested. Another project which we acquired last year, but over a year and a half ago, actually. This is on what's called the Cadillac Break, which is this dashed line over here. There's a former deposit called the Rouyn Merger on the property, but this gives us over 4 kilometers of the Cadillac Break. Now you see over here, all these green circles, those are drill holes on the Heva West and the Heva mine. We have a 2% NSR royalty on that property, and it's being worked by Hecla. Over here, you can see there's very little drilling going this way. So we've been doing work, and we came up with a target over here that we want to drill. We were actually going to drill it this winter, but looks like we're delayed in the government permitting until next spring. So we'll be drilling it. We've got very, very good high-grade values in this area. So this is just an example. We acquired this in a trade with another company. We think it has potential. We've got a perfect situation on the Cadillac Break, and we're carrying this project forward. A more grassroots, but this is not really grassroots project. This is a place up near Waswana. Jeepers creepers, why does this thing keep going forward? Anyway, the project is visible gold on surface. We did stripping. There's a historical zone of 405 feet length, 123 meters, about 27 grams gold. There's been a lot of work done on more stripping. We've come up with up to 96 ounces over 1 meter on surface. We were planning and doing work on this summer, but we got sidetracked on working on a number of other projects. So it is a project with lots of good values, lots of potential. This project is a royalty that we purchased on what's called the Kawagama project. This is owned by Radisson. Radisson have been drilling on this project. We have a 2% NSR. They've developed a number of trends on the property, as shown by the red arrows, and the thing is open to depth. They're going to carry this forward. We sit back as they spend, huge amounts of money advancing this project, as well as their other projects on our part of this package. And you can see some of the values here that they're getting in their results, 13.8 over 2.4 meters, 7.73 over 2 meters, 45 over 2.1 meters, 17 over 2 meters, 57 grams over 2.8 meters. So this is high grade, good widths, mineable widths. There is already underground access, as you can see here from the shaft and underground workings. They're carrying it forward. We sit back. Now, adjoining this property to the east, there's a gap of about 700 meters with almost no exploration, and then it comes to a property owned by Globex. Now, this is where we have the 2% royalty on the Kawagama. This is the Globex property, which has the wood mine and the Central Cadillac mine and the Ironwood mine. The Ironwood mine has 243,000 tons of 17.26 grams. That's an inferred resource. We're actually in the process of drilling the Ironwood zone right now. We're putting out a press release this morning on the first 3 holes from this program. And what we're doing is we're doing infill drilling and trying to establish the east, west, and bottom of the zone, but particularly the east and west zone, to see if we can do a mining project on this deposit, either using the Nova Mera surgical mining method or with a ramp. We'll see how we go. But because of the grade and the compact nature of the deposit and the fact that it's sub-outcrops, we can make a hell of a profit with this particular deposit. So we're working on this. This is on the Cadillac Break. You can see all these squares are former deposits. By the way, on the Radisson ground, in addition to the 2% NSR on the Kawagama, we have a 1% NSR on their New Alger project. Another one of the projects, this is being drilled by a company called Emperor. You can see multiple zones on the property. There's already an established inferred resource of almost 2 million tons, grading 5.4 grams gold using a 6.36 gram cutoff. That's cut 727,000 ounces, uncut 853,000 ounces, and an average width of 5.7 meters. Now, this resource study was done in 2011 and used a price of $960 US an ounce. As you know, the price now is 2,600. So a new resource study is going to increase this, plus their drilling, and they've done several drill programs. So we acquired the project, we did a bit of work, upgraded it, and then we did a number of deals. This is the last deal that we're doing right now with Emperor. The deal is payments of $10 million in cash, $15 million in shares. They must do a minimum of $12 million in work over 5 years, and we retain a 3% gross overriding royalty on the property. Another project in Ontario, just across the border, a very large property. This is just one little sliver of the property. There's a resource with the ramp, 5 levels already developed. A study done at $1,200 an ounce gold in 2016 showed 270,000 tons of 3.5 grams for about 41,000 ounces, but the whole resource down to where they drilled was 719,000 tons of 8 grams gold. It is open, multiple zones, and a huge property with lots and lots of potential. So I'm just showing these kinds of things just to show you some of our assets. So I'll stop there. I would just want to make evident some of the important points about Globex. Number one, we have very few shares out, and we focus on not diluting our shareholders. The board of directors are professional people in the industry. We have income, which makes us different than other companies. Not only do we have income, but we have no debt. We own all of our assets. And now at this point, I'd like to point out one other thing, which is a bit different than other companies. Other companies, they acquire a property. Say they acquire a property for $500,000 and they raise $2 million and they spend it on exploration and they find nothing. They carry it on their books at $2.5 million. We carry all of our properties on our books at zero value. The reason we do that is because every year you have to evaluate your package. Now, if you have one or two projects, it's easy to do evaluation. But if you've got 254 projects, some with resources, some with targets, inferred, proven, possible, it becomes extremely expensive to come up with the resource calculation, the value calculation, sorry, for all these resources and properties. So we show it as zero. If somebody wants to get an idea of the value of our company, look at what we have and judge it from there. Again, we generate revenue. We have money in the bank. We have no debt. We are not issuing shares and diluting. We work only in areas of low political risk in Quebec, Ontario, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Arizona, Nevada, Washington, Saxony, Germany. And we're in the process of being involved in acquiring a number of projects in Portugal. The board of directors, again, professionals in the business. Senior geologists, mining accountants, senior professional. We also own real estate. I didn't mention that before. Like you're seeing a picture of part of our office. It's an L-shaped office. We own our offices. We own our vehicles. We own a condo office in Toronto. We own other buildings and real estate on some of our properties in Quebec and in Ontario. So the intrinsic value of the company is very, very high. So we'll stop there and allow time for questions.
Well, thank you very much, Jack, for leaving some time for the Q&A. I think that was, again, great presentation. The business model of Globex is obviously quite unique and very hard to duplicate, as you guys have started decades ago, and it would take a tremendous amount of time to accumulate so many great properties that are now generating royalties, royalty portfolio also, and so on, all into prime locations. So obviously, congrats on that. In the meantime, people, please put your question in the Q&A, and then we'll be able to continue asking Jack more questions. I have already a few. Okay, so Andrew is asking, I think this is interesting in light of the latest news in the sector regarding antimony. Any news on your other antimony property?
Well, we have several antimony properties.
Yes.
We have one. See, part of our business model is picking up stuff when nobody else is interested in them. So when antimony was worth very little, we picked up two very advanced projects in New Brunswick. As people may know or may not know, antimony is also a pathfinder for gold. Where very often where you find antimony, you find gold. So we have two properties, one which we've optioned out and is generating revenue through option payments and shares, and the company is advancing that project. We have another one which we have not optioned out yet called Devil's Pike, and that one's also a very interesting antimony project because it's antimony and gold, particularly higher grade gold. We've already got over 100,000 ounces of gold outlined on the property, plus antimony looks like probably frost heaves of up to 53% antimony on surface, plus multiple gold antimony targets previously intersected in drill holes and found by prospecting. So we're very, very, very hyped on what is the potential for these antimony, but they're really antimony gold projects. Now, for the one Devil's Pike one, which is not optioned yet, we are showing it at the moment to a number of companies that have expressed an interest.
Thank you for the answer. Are you seeing more effects yet from elevated gold and silver prices in your various projects moving forward, getting financed? I
Yeah,
think on that, maybe if you could, if you can take also one example of a companies that you have, I don't know, either Radisson or someone else, it doesn't matter who, but just tell, go on for you, and as well on the junior exploration that has your project on which you have a royalty, how it's changed things for them.
well, first of all, it's for the companies that have real resources. I mean, the juniors that are trying to think of a polite way to say it, who have less than developed projects. That's a very nice way of saying it.
More
They're
focusing
having
on raw exploration. Yeah.
okay, they're having difficulty raising funds. The ones
Yeah.
that have real projects, like Emperor, like Radisson, you mentioned Radisson, despite the fact that the markets in general are not that great because a lot of money has been deviated away to crypto, Bitcoin, and so on. But for the ones with legitimate projects that have real good potential, they can raise the money. And they're carrying them forward, like Radisson. They've done a number of drill programs, like Emperor. They've done a number of drill programs. The only negative is that despite the good work, despite the excellent results a number of these companies are getting, you showed power just before me. The stock prices are not reflecting the value created. And we're going to have a correction in the market over the next year or two in order to get the actual value of these assets recognized. Globex is a case in point. We're a bit more complicated than most because we're not focused on one project. But getting the value recognized is very difficult, but raising money is possible for very good, valid projects.
Great. Can you tell us a lot more about Ironwood? So basically, one one guest is asking, how can we de-risk the project, get it more successful at the outcome in different stages? That means infill drilling, permitting, mining, and so on.
Okay, well, it's just funny that they asked that question today because we'll be putting out a press release probably tomorrow. Cerrado, who managed the project, I put out a press release today that they are going forward with more tests on the metallurgy. They expect to have a bankable feasibility study by the first quarter 2006. That they are doing all the planning and the permitting, that they already have lined up about 70% of the capital cost for putting it into production. And that project looks like it is going forward.
This is great to hear. One last thing, do you have plans to expand and take new claims that either being in Europe, in the US, or to continue moving a bit away from Canada?
Yes, the answer is yes. We are focused heavily in Quebec. Some of the new regulations in Bill 63 that the Quebec government are bringing in are going to make exploration particularly more difficult. Some of clearly the Minister of ESNA doesn't understand our business or the exploration business and the mining business. They're passing regulations which, for example, before a prospector could stake ground, and as long as they found a client, they could vend the ground without doing huge expenditures. Now they're requiring that the prospector do the first year's work before they can sell the project, which means a big investment, much more for the prospector than before, and without realizing that the prospectors bring a lot of money into the province. So it's very short-sighted in a whole bunch of ways in this law. But anyway, we think that Quebec is still a good place, but we're working in Portugal now. We're working more in Nevada and Arizona, picking up assets, critical minerals, and gold, particularly Portugal gold, and in Nevada, critical minerals and gold.
Perfect. Well, Jack, the time is up. It's 4:01. We thank you very much for your time presentation again and explaining more and more the Globex Mining Enterprises business model. I hope people are starting to understand it and to get more clearly and see the real potential of the company. And until the next time, Jack, we wish you the best of luck in all the projects and see you maybe at the next IIF.
OK, merci beaucoup, Julien.
Merci beaucoup, Jack. Bye bye.
À la prochaine.